Mike Owens here, joined today by Mick Parkin, who returns to action next Saturday night, UFC 304. Mick, always a pleasure, my man. How are things at you today?
Good, mate, good.
It's a bit of a strange one, this, Mick, because this is the first time we've spoke, but the first time I met you was in that boxing gym up in Liverpool all those years ago. I think you were 1 or
Yeah,
2-0 as a pro, and now you're in the
yeah, probably
UFC.
right.
You're almost becoming a little bit of a mainstay of the British scene. So how are your emotions ahead of your return?
Yeah, it's been crazy. I felt like I went from, like you said, I was 2-0, then I maybe had a few more fights. I think I got in the contender series and I was 5-0, I think.
5-0, yeah.
Four, 5-0. So I knew it would definitely come around quick with us being a heavyweight. I knew it was a bit quicker. Like you're pushing it in the big shows, but like talking about it's one thing and it actually happens completely different. So I went from like local shows, struggling to get fights at pro, fighting local shows, then fighting on like Rise and Conquer, my coach's show, because it was like a bit easy to get matched up from there because he would try a little bit harder to get his matched up. So obviously I was his guy. And then to get in the Call of Contender series and winning, then to being like signed the UFC and then having 3 fights out every fourth in the UFC, it's been like crazy how fast it like comes around like that.
What record do you have for fights at 1 o'clock in the morning? Because I think that's what time you're scheduled to be fighting. What's
Yeah.
your record for fights in the early evening?
I think to be fair, when it's a fight amateur and local, you were always on about 12 o'clock. It was being like a heavyweight, I was always on last.
Mm.
So I went from that, and I got a bit spoiled in the UFC, going back to prelims of being like first fights on, a second fights on. Like I remember one time in Vegas, the schedule had changed, so the fights were early there. So I think I thought about like maybe like 3, 4 p.m. It was
Yeah.
so early. It was so much nicer because some people are like, oh, main events going waiting out, but then when you're in, you're out, you're going.
Mm.
More time to party. So this time to be different because even though I'm on earlier, I still have no time to party. So I'll be shut by the time I'm finished and got out.
Have you had to put any measures in place though to deal with the start time? I mean, I know it's not super late. It's slightly later than usual than a kind of main event. But have you had to do anything different this camp?
So my thinking was 1 o'clock's not too bad. Twos are starting to get a bit iffy. Obviously, threes and fours, like what Tom's fighting at, it's a bit different. I do think on a fight day, like even if you didn't prepare, I think it might affect you a little bit, but I think in there your nerves and your adrenaline will get you through it. But like from today, really, I'll start stopping up a little bit later. I'll try and remember at the same time, maybe training a little bit later, try and start up as late as possible and just sleep in longer. What I'm thinking is usually when I go to America, it takes about 3 or 4 days to acclimatise, I feel like for me. So just be like that, maybe it's 3 days of like hard, not sleeping as much as I should be. And then hopefully by the fourth day I'll be okay. But like I said, I'm just doing the 10 days out just in case. But I do think I'll be okay. I'll maybe just fight days, sleep as long as I can. Obviously my fight till 1, so you might have to be at the venue at like 11, maybe it's at the earliest. So I'll just do that and maybe just try have a nap during the afternoon. I think I'll be fine. I think like I said, Tom and Edwards don't know what them are doing, but they're a bit later. Well, obviously 5 o'clock in the morning, that's nearly a full day of being awake. So I'm guessing they might have, I don't know if they want to get up early and go back to bed. I don't know. It's weird because everyone just says, oh, just sleep. Sometimes in a fight day, depending on how you're feeling, sometimes if you're like really high, you kind of
Yeah.
get yourself down to sleep. I've had some fights where I haven't slept. I've had some where I've like been out now, like a tour nap and felt mint. So it just depends how you feel on the day. So it's not as easy as just saying, oh, sleep a little bit later or go back to sleep. So think I'm just like I said, start a bit later from now, 10 days. I don't get the fighters hotel. I think Tuesday they want to start, so just a couple of days before, and hopefully by then I'm quite sound to be like all prepared for the sleep schedule.
We'll get back to the video in just a second, but I got to tell you about the Open Championship coming up and how we've partnered up with DraftKings to bring you guys an incredible offer. I know what you guys are thinking. What does fighting and golf have to do with each other? A lot. Golf is not a team sport, neither is fighting. It's every man for himself, last man left standing, and normally the guy who takes the least amount of damage is the one who wins. So right now, new DraftKings customers who go download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, bet $5 on the Open Championship, get $150 in bonus bets instantly with promo code INSIDEFIGHTING.
What do you anticipate from the UK crowd? I mean, I know you've had the taste of it when you made your debut down in the O2, but obviously it's a much easier journey for your friends and family up from the northeast to get down to Manchester. So what are you expecting next Saturday?
Yeah, so I got obviously loads went to London. Obviously, my first one, it was a big do. And there's still quite a few going into Manchester. Obviously, a few people have been put off at the time.
Mm.
I did expect it with there just being 2 title fights and them obviously catering to American crowd because that's where it's the biggest over there. The pay-per-view sell over there. You understand why they do it. But yeah, people I know, there's a few people coming to go down, get a travel lodge and just stop there. A few of my friends are going to get the train down in height and first train back in the morning and just stop up all the way through. So I don't know what's best. Like a few of my friends aren't going to have a drink. They're just going to go up and get a few Red Bulls because it says if you get pissed in that there, time the fight's going around, you're going to be absolutely knackered.
Yeah.
So a few of them are just saying, we're not even going to drink. We're just going to keep ourselves ready to watch the show. So I don't know what's best. But like, yeah, a few people are still going down. It's definitely a big cracker for the UK fans, I'd say. But
Yeah.
I can understand why they've done it. And like people are like saying, oh, I wouldn't go, I wouldn't do this. But like, it's still going to sell out. So unless like for whatever the arena is, everyone boycotted in the UK and says we're not going, they might change it then. But like I said, it's still going to sell out, still going to be an amazing show. And realistically, in the UK, to get 2 world title fights, you might never see that again. So I think it is an amazing opportunity.
Yeah, no, 100%, mate. I couldn't agree more. Speaking about your fight, what do you make of your upcoming opponent?
Yeah, so I've fought a few people like this now. So I think the very first fight I was matched with him in the UFC. Well, not matched. He got offered, but I think he was injured at the time, so it didn't fall through. So I sort of didn't like really know him, but I've watched a few of his fights or his earlier ones because of that. So when they offered him this time, I knew who he was and stuff like that, and I'd probably seen his fight because I just obviously got a big one against Johnny Walker's brother.
Walter Walker.
Yeah, Walter Walker, and I knew I watched that fight anyway. So I got matched with him. It's great. Yeah, it's the same thing I expected from Virgo. He's like big Polish heavyweight. I think they're all the same. I think they're all nails. I think all them Polish guys are just absolutely nails. I do think I'm a lot technically better than him. Probably everywhere, but that doesn't mean that I'm guaranteed to win against him. I think he's really tough, and no matter what happens in the fight, I do think that he doesn't just give up. If that makes sense. He keeps going. Even if he's getting outclassed, I know he's going to keep coming forward. So it could be like a really horrible 3-round fight for me, where it's just like a dog fight where he keeps coming forward. But I do think his skill set's a lot better than him. So I do think. But I've still got to be switched on. It's heavyweight MMA. I've said this loads. Now was the best fighter wins. It's a bit unfair sometimes that the better fighter can lose. But that is what it is. That's why everybody likes watching the heavyweights because anything can happen. But I am really confident with this matchup. I do think I'm better than him all rounder.
As you mentioned there, he's coming off a win, but I think his first 3 fights in the UFC were all losses. So he's in a much more precarious position, and he needs to impress some ways, in many ways, more than you. Are you expecting an aggressive Brzeski when he comes out next Saturday?
Yeah, I think he's maybe he's a bit unfair. Like I said, he's tough in that. Like hasn't give up. I watched his fights, and he's definitely just comes forward, stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know how he's feeling. He's won the last one, so he's probably confident again. Probably a little bit of pressure off his shoulders, I'd imagine. But I can only go off the last fight, and he always looks like he's aggressive and comes forward.
Yeah.
I have done this before and watched people, and it's been a completely different fighter when they've fought you. So I don't know. I'm just prepared. I just prepare for everything. Just tell myself it's going to be your hardest fight yet. And that sort of gets you around it. If it is the hardest fight yet, you're prepared for it. It's not even better. It's nicer.
Yeah. What do you think a win does for you next Saturday night? I mean, you go 4-0 in the UFC in the start of your career. I mean, you probably have one of the longest win streaks in the division. What do you think a win does? How far away do you think we are from a top 15 fight?
I think I always say I'll take my time. I'm still quite young in this career. I'm still making loads of mistakes and improving. But I also do understand that heavyweight's not a very big division, as in like depth. So I do think one more fight probably maybe even puts us in the top 15. If not, it definitely gives us a top 15 fight. But yeah, I'm ready for that. I think I've got to get past this guy on Saturday, Disney, like looking ahead of him because he's definitely a hard fight. But yeah, I think the UFC have been really fair to us so far ahead of Masters. So I do think maybe his next would be maybe he's a guy 15, 14, 13, something like that. Maybe. But I don't know. I've seen this before. Why people you think even top 15 and get a different opponent. But I would guess this win will put us on the top 15 or just in the cusp of it. But like I said, I'm happy just to fight and just keep getting better and keep getting harder fights. And the UFC are being pretty fair, so I can't see them like saying, "Oh, you've won 4, now you're fighting a top 5 guy." I think the match is still quite fairly, so I do think it'll be maybe a little more of a push again. Like I feel like the match just fairly with I've won 4 contender series people or Usman, who was 3-0 in the UFC at the time, while I was 2-0. So I think it was all like fair contender series winners or people who won on the UFC or had a few I think the match is fairly, so I'm just going off that. Maybe there will be a push now for the top 15, like the latter of the 15, 14, 13, like people like that. I'd assume.
Tom, it's interesting, mate, because I remember interviewing Tom before the Arlovski fight, so he would have been in a similar position to you 2 or 3 fights in, and he said the exact same, is like, I want to take it slow, but I also understand that this is the heavyweight division. It's maybe not the deepest division in the world, and if I keep impressing, I'll keep getting those opportunities. It's an interesting one, because if you were 9-0 as a lightweight or maybe a bantamweight, you might still be on the regional scene. It's such an interesting dynamic that you guys are almost forced up as a result of your success.
Yeah, I've always thought like it's so unfair for these little guys. They maybe have 15, 20 fights before they even get there, and then even getting there when you're on the cusp of it, like high level regional fights. Some of them fights, I think, for these littler guys are harder than the UFC first fights.
Yeah.
To get there, but it's just getting into the foot in the door and not losing. Because I said, one loss puts you back, and maybe it's not signing a loss. So you're able to keep winning, probably taking harder fights, and then keep winning, and hopefully get your chance. So it's much harder for them. But like I said, a heavyweight is sort of like fight what you can get, win a few, fight somebody half decent, and you're like sort of into the big shows. Then you find out if you're good enough for the big shows or you push back down. That's how it went for me. But like I said, yeah, it's crazy. Like I said, 5 fights, and then on like the biggest show in the world, really, and then having 3 fights in the biggest show in the world, while there's some guys who've had 15, 20, and they're really good. So it's just so lucky. It's so lucky being a heavyweight. There's just not many of us. It's hard for like training partners, and it's hard because I think the fight's not necessarily harder, but I think it's the only division in the world where I always think of it as like, if a light guy fights, usually you could get a guy off the street, and the lighter guy, professional fighter, would always beat the lighter guy. I could fight some Neil's rugby player, and they could knock us out. It definitely could knock us out with
I've
like a
never thought
windmill. That's
about
why
it like that.
I think like it's just little gloves. They don't have to be the most technically proficient. Some of them you're watching, you think, oh, they don't even look that great, but then they just hit so hard they knock everybody out. It's or they lose for like 2 or 3 rounds, just bring the big bomb at the end and get the win. So it's such a dangerous division for that reason. But obviously, there's not many big guys, so that's why you sort of like get there so quick. Then I feel like you push together a few regional guys, and the better one seems to come through. And I've just been fortunate that I've won so far.
So no big guys, it's kind of been this revelation in the UK scene with what Andy Aspinall's done in terms of making this heavyweight bomb squad with yourself, with Phil, Tom. Obviously, I know that Modestus is spending time with you guys as well, and there's many others, and I don't want to kind of forget anyone by reeling off too big of a list. But how much has that elevated your game? Because it is always a struggle, especially in the heavyweight division around the world, but especially in this country, to find the big training partners.
Yeah, I think it's the best mat in the world just by judging on what I've seen on Instagram and other people's training. Like, even a bog standard day, there's like 6 or 7 big guys there who've all probably fought, even the ones who haven't fought, them at like the highest level where they can give you hard rounds. When I train my gym back home at PFT, there's obviously me and Big Phil, Big Paul trains with us now, and maybe 2 other guys, Caesar and Bull, who are the big guys, like heavyweights who train with us. You get used to people a little bit as well. You know, when you train, like, you're comfortable. Obviously, Phil's amazing. He's one of the best grapplers on the planet, I think, heavyweight. But you still get used to the different bodies, and then the techniques you do. Maybe I'm drilling something there that I'm drilling with Phil. Then you've got like no chance. Oh, again, it's sometimes I think, oh, this doesn't even work, this technique. But then going down, training with Tom and all them big guys, I'm doing stuff that maybe them haven't seen, and never doing stuff that them have been practicing. So it's good to get new bodies in. And the way it's going now, like I kind of like you said, Modestus was there, who's UFC. There was Martin Boudet there, who was a UFC heavyweight. From the PFL champion, he was there, heavyweight champion. So that's another great like guy. That the rider was there from 1FC, the 1FC middleweight.
Oh yeah,
he was training the other day, so it gets more. And then like a Bellator fight will come. I think MVP was there 1 week. Carl Moore from he was there the time before. Corey Anderson for a world title. Just attracts big guys. I think everyone's in the same boat. You usually get 1 really good training partner, 2 if you're lucky. You've got to train with them, and it's just so lucky that we'll go there. And there's 6 or 7 huge guys. Like I'm usually one of the biggest guys there. I'm probably one of the smallest there. So like some guys 150 kilo, some guys like 6'9". There's just so many different bodies and so many different levels. Then you get a look in. I can go there and I'm sparring, see an explosive guy. Oh well, this guy there is really explosive. I'm sparring a tall guy. Oh, there's a really tall heavyweight there. I'm sparring a fast guy. Obviously, well, Tom is probably the fastest heavyweight in the world. So it's good because I've got like probably the body now for everything. I'm fighting a really strong wrestler. I've got like Big Phil. I've got
Yeah.
I feel like I've got an area for everybody now
Yeah.
to cover. So even if I have got a unique fighter, it's something probably I haven't not seen now because I've sparred with them all. So it's great to go out with Andy, and he's a nice guy. Everyone trained. It's like good crack, you know. You're like, you are trained. That's for the most places I've trained that now. It's like a bit like you get to train hard and you're there to win, but it's like have a bit cracking with the lads. It's a bit funny. Like you enjoy training, you enjoy going there, like have a laugh. So it's loads better than the sessions fly over.
Yeah, I love it, mate. I have to ask about Tom because obviously a lot of people view him now as the real heavyweight champion. I know he only has the interim strap, but a lot of people, there's certainly a question mark over that. You obviously have a very unique perspective, obviously haven't spent so much time in the room with him. So I have to ask, what in your opinion makes Tom Aspinall so good?
I could speak all day about him. Like obviously, his first thing is the speed, which he moves. That he's so fast for a heavyweight, and I think everybody in the world knows that now. And they mention it, but until you've actually, like, I'm not used to him now, but I've spotted him so much. I know he's fast. It doesn't surprise us that he's
Yeah.
hitting us from like crazy ways. But I think me telling you now, oh, he's really fast. You would go and spar him, and you'd be like, after you'd be like, oh, he is fast.
Yeah.
Like I haven't realised until you get in front of him. But he's got loads of techniques. He does. He sets things up really good. He's so loose. But his main thing is he spars so relaxed. He's got no ego. He's happy to try stuff, and like even if say it's not working, he'll stick with it. He's got such a playful mindset for sparring. He's always wanting to get better and improve. He like put himself in bad positions. He'll like start in really bad positions just to get better. He's not bothered if you like pin him for a round because he's trying to get better, and his mindset's great. And at the moment, I speak to him all the time. I do think he's obviously got to fight Curtis Blades, who stylistically is probably the hardest matchup for him. I think most people agree with being a strong wrestler, but like I wouldn't surprise if he just went there and knocked Curtis Blades straight out. No disrespect to Curtis, but he's that good and that fast. Like he's just something you never seen heavyweight before. And then going on for that, I don't know. Obviously, he wants the Jones fight, and it's hard now, and Steve Bear and that, and Pereira. But I think he'd fight anybody. I think he's that confident that he would fight anybody in the world. I think he backed himself 100%. Whether these fights happen for him, I don't know. If he beats Blades, he beats Blades again. Like what's next for him? Jones doesn't want to fight him. And Pereira's now mentioned, maybe coming everywhere, but then Jones is mentioned with Pereira. I don't know where it leaves him, but he just keeps training. You know, he trains all the time. Like I said, when he fought Pavlovich, he only got like a week and a half notice, so he wasn't even in training camp. But he trains all the time. He's always in good shape. He's always. I think Big Phil was fighting, so he's done 1 or 2 rounds with Phil, helping Phil prepare for his fight. And like then you got the call, and like I said, it's lucky that he stops in shape all the time. He can take a fight whenever. But yeah, I think he's a super confident man. I think he thinks he can beat everybody in the world, so he'd fight anybody. Hopefully, he gets one of these like fights. This is nice for him to like if he fights Jones, it's just a mega payday for him as well.
Yeah.
And he deserves it because he is. I wish I could say and say, oh, he's good at everything and he's a dick, but he's not. He's a really nice guy as well.
100%, mate. We'll turn the conversation back to yourself. Tell me what happens next Saturday night. How do you envisage in your mind the fight playing out?
Yeah, I think he's just gonna. Like I said, I can only judge his last few fights. He looks like he heavily kickboxes. There's a few techniques I've watched. I think I've got roughly in my head. I've drilled the best I can. If it's like a 3rd round fight, he's coming forward. I could say that, but I do think me striking's a little better than I could see his finishing on the feet. I also see him finishing him on the floor. I'm not fussed where it goes. I'm prepared for everything. I just try and get a little bit better. Maybe it's a few of my fights I haven't like. I've won them easily, but I haven't like pushed for a finish. Maybe that's the thing I need to work on now. When people are hurt, I'm hurting them, but I'm just trying to improve these things every time. Maybe he's looking for more finishes now, but I do think this is the fight I'll get the finish.
I love it, mate. I love it. Well, good to see you in this opportunity. It's been great to see this rise. Actually, your early start of UFC career. Have a great and safe rest of camp, and best of luck for next Saturday.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.